Hey guys, Mark Holthe here, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, coming to you once again live here on the Express Entry Law private Facebook group to do another EE Live Q&A. In other words, Express Entry live question and answer period for all of you. Now today I want to apologize because I'm about 24 minutes late getting started. That's what happens when you have a lawyer who's trying to be the technical expert, the videographer, and everything else associated with this weekly little session. So I want to extend an apology for getting late started, but I had some technical difficulties with Facebook and my Ecamm Live software that I'm using to broadcast these lovely little Q&As with you guys. So today's going to be a little bit shorter, but those of you who are now starting to funnel in and we're patient and we're waiting, hopefully I can make it worth your while. Today's been one of those days, guys, where I just basically like to go home, crawl into bed, pull the covers over my head, and go to sleep and wake up tomorrow. It's been one of those days. But notwithstanding that, yesterday was a very good day, and I had an approval on some work permits that was just an awesome result. I was super stoked about it. And so because of that, I'm going to accept the fact that I do have my bad days as well. So no refusals or anything like that. Those rarely come. But sometimes the workload and everything is just overwhelming, I'll be honest. So with that being said, I'm just going to log in here on my own computer and just make sure that I can find our group so I can listen to your questions and watch everything live here. And then I'll also wait for you guys. I'll invite you to chime in and let me know where you're listening from. I always love to see that, and it's a part that of this whole process that really is rewarding for me to see how far this little EE Live Q&A actually stretches all over the world. So if you are logged in now, just give me a post where you're listening from, and sometimes it logs in, sometimes it responds quickly and lets me know when people are commenting. Other times it takes a long time to actually appear. So yeah, it's an entertaining experience trying to navigate this world of Facebook. Okay, Mauricia says he is live now. Yes, I am, Mauricia. And fortunately, the technical difficulties have been removed, and I am up and running. And now I finally see everybody starting to see that the video is live. So thank you, Facebook, for making the video appear on at least a few people's timelines. All right, today I'm going to be spending the time that we have here answering listener questions. As always, I start with the questions that were sent in via email, and I've got a few right here to respond to. And then as soon as I get through those, I'm going to take the time to answer all of you amazing people who are watching live. So once again, I do this at noon because this is the time that is my lunch break. And outside of lunch break, so I basically don't eat lunch on Tuesdays, or I should say, yeah, Tuesdays, so that I can do this. And then I've got a pile of work that's waiting on both sides. So lots to do this morning and lots to do this afternoon. Okay, let me grab a pen here. There we go. As you can see, this is, like I said, it's an interesting day today just because there's so much going on. In fact, I was so busy I didn't even have breakfast. But hey, that's what happens. But I did have a couple awesome consultations this morning with Express Entry Law group members who reached out to me. And the thing I love most about those is when people call me and they've got a question that they've searched for and just can't find the answer. And it's really causing them distress. And they're not sure what to do. Often it's at the stage when they have an ITA and they're getting ready to file their EAPR. And they will book a consultation and with an issue that they just can't overcome. And then I have the pleasure of resolving that concern, seeing the weight and the stress and the pressure literally drain off of the faces and off of the backs of these people, knowing that now they have peace of mind that they can submit their application without concern. And I'll be honest, guys, I don't sell filling out a form. I don't sell basic information. Guys, what I sell as an immigration lawyer is peace of mind. And when people contact me, I have the privilege of resolving that concern. And I guess to some extent, my whole life is taking on the stress of all of my clients so that they don't have to be stressed. And that's a thing. Leave aside time savings in retaining me to assist, or just, spending the hours and hours online not knowing who you can trust. Set all of those aside. The reality is what I sell is peace of mind. And so that's awesome, and I love having the opportunity to do that when people book paid consultations. But even as much, equal as much to getting paid on one-on-one consults is knowing that these videos are stretching out to thousands of people all over the world. And so I can actually help people to avoid some of the most common mistakes and to resolve some of the concerns that many, many people have. Now, this past week, I had a chance to jump on and answer some questions within our group. It's been a long time since I've had an opportunity to do that. And that largely arose because I had a little bit of time to kill. Because this last week, I have been in Ottawa attending our National Executive Committee meetings for the Canadian Bar Association's immigration section, and I'm currently the secretary within the table officers of our national section. And our purpose is basically to advocate for our clients across the country, to advocate for the immigration lawyers across the country that are a part of the Canadian Bar Association. And it's amazing. I am so happy with the direction that immigration is going in Canada. The officers, the head officials, everything, whether it's IRCC, the Canada Border Service Agency, ESDC, which oversees the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, all of them, all the way down to the Minister of Immigration, really care, guys. It seems like for years I've said that the officers are heartless and cruel, and I guess to some extent on the ground they are, in terms of the definitions of what makes a complete application and when you're short documents. Yes, it's heart-wrenching and cruel when they just take and return applications. So absolutely, that's a real difficulty. But understand, guys, at least at the top, when it comes to trying to resolve concerns within the program, trying to understand the best way to proceed with some really difficult issues regarding immigration, I was just really amazed and pleasantly surprised by just how good the government officers are, and at a very difficult job. And so I came back really refreshed, really excited, really proud to be a part of this country. And although we don't always agree with the decisions that are made in Ottawa, especially our immigration section, the discussions that I had and the opportunities that I had to meet with those head officials, listen to them, listen to some of the things that they have planned, provide feedback from our lawyers, within our national section, provide feedback to the government based on the comments and recommendations that the lawyers all across the country had given to us. I just feel good about everything. And I'll qualify that, guys. I understand that express entry is becoming more and more difficult to qualify. It is. It's becoming harder and harder. And there's only one reason for that. It's because Canada it's an awesome place to live. And people all over the world are realizing that. And when you compare Canada's program to the US, or to the UK, or to Australia, or New Zealand, and many of those other destinations that are very popular, we've got a pretty awesome system here. It's not perfect for everyone. It isn't. But with that being said, it's pretty awesome. And I'm proud to be an immigration lawyer. Certified with the Law Society of Alberta, and having the privilege and opportunity to represent you guys. I am super excited about it. So I just wanted to share that with all of you guys. I wanted to thank all of you as I jumped on and was watching, and it's been a while since I've had a chance to kind of funnel through all of the questions and everything and really engage with people. And I really do miss it. I really do miss being able to jump on and just answer questions. But now it's just not possible. My practice has become quite busy. And I guess that's what happens when people know about you all over the world. Just by its very nature, there's more people that want to use your services. And when people retain me and engage me to help them, they become my priority. And I will do everything I can to service them. And so that of necessity means that there's only so much of me to go around, and I just don't have the ability to get on and answer those questions like I used to. But I did have an opportunity to do that in the last couple of days, and it was a lot of fun. And you just feel like you're making a difference in the world, and I guess that's why I do it. All right, enough of me blithering on like I usually do, waxing philosophical and all of these things. But I personally feel immigration's in pretty good hands. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with all of you awesome people who are tuning in right now. Okay, some of you are already jumping in. Oh, I see Sohan has already posted a link to book a consult. Thanks. You guys are awesome. You know, it's interesting being an immigration lawyer because of all the areas. I'm going to try to compose myself here. The feeling that I get when I get results from my clients and when I'm able to make a difference in their lives when there is no hope for them, that's what we do as immigration lawyers. It is unbelievably rewarding, and it just makes this all so worth it. So when I get people like you guys that chime in, that answers people's questions, that are genuinely caring and want the best for other people, and I see this growing within this massive group, it just, I don't know how to describe it. It just, it's just awesome. And all I can say is thank you. So enough of that. Like you said, it's been a hard day for me today, so it's pretty crazy. This is live, and I just, sometimes you can't always control how things play out. But whatever. This is me, guys. You got me. This is Mark at his rawest and holding nothing back. So this is definitely not a recording. Okay, let's go ahead and jump on before I start getting super emotional here, which is hilarious. Okay, first question. This question comes from Visha, and Visha says, what types of confirmation is needed, if any, or the person's swearing affidavits to confirm my employment when a completed job letter was not issued by HR? If I cannot provide their job letter, what can be done? Can I provide their work ID? Okay, Visha, this is one of the questions, and I'm going to make a note here once again so I can track this. This is 12:30. Within this Express Entry Live Q&A, I can't go into super in-depth detail. In my course, I actually have a special video that's accessible to people who purchase it that goes into depth as to all of the various options that you can pursue to support your work experience when your employer doesn't cooperate. And that's, unfortunately, it's not a publicly available document. But what I want to show you, and I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to jump out of this so you guys don't see a duplication of me. Okay, and I'm going to jump in here. I'm just going to go to the EE Completeness Check. This site here is obviously the source of all goodness when you're trying to prepare. Once you get your ITA and you're filling in your EAPR, once you've answered all the questions, then your personalized document checklist will actually provide information buttons that you can click on that tell you exactly what you need to include or what your documents need to look like. But just for our purposes here, I'm going to blow this up a little bit bigger. See if I can scroll down here. And I think everybody knows this already, but your reference letters have to include, and you can see must include right here, the following details. It must include these: job title. I'll go this way, that'll be easier. Job title, duties and responsibilities, job status, the dates worked, the number of work hours per week, annual salary and benefits. Most reference letters do not include duties and responsibilities, and they don't include the number of hours per week. And in fairness, most generic reference letters that your employers would give you, if they were so inclined to do it, don't even include salary and benefits. So because of that, you have two options. One is you go back to the employer and you say, hey, I worked for you a few years back, or maybe even if it's your own current employer, could I get a reference letter that needs to state these things? Well, as is the case here for Visha, they're not willing to do it. In other words, for whatever reason, the letter is either not possible completely or it's incomplete. So then you have to look at everything that you can get your hands on to prove these elements that we've talked about right here. So job title, well, do you have a job offer letter? Did they give you something when you first started work? Do you have performance reviews, performance appraisals or reviews that happen, every 6 months or year? Sometimes more sophisticated companies have those. Do you have pay stubs? Do you have that will confirm sometimes pay stubs confirm the number of hours worked per week. They definitely would demonstrate salary. Sometimes you have your pay automatically debited or deposited, I should say, into your account. That will also help to prove salary. Job descriptions tend to be more difficult. Maybe your company is large and they have internal job descriptions. Maybe when you were applying for your position, there was an advertisement, and that advertisement posting for that position listed the duties and responsibilities, which is very common. Maybe you've worked in a different country for that company and they had to submit immigration work permit application materials that include letters that they wouldn't have given you personally, but they did give to the immigration lawyer who was seeking a work visa for you in another country. You can see, so there's all kinds of things like that. So maybe you've paid taxes in your country, and those taxes confirm the employment income that you've earned in that year. So all of those things are some of these external documents that you can look at to help try and prove all of these things that we have right here. But the reality is, if for whatever reason you are not able to get all of those things to be able to prove your work history, then yes, you have to then rely on affidavits. And in my mind, I always kind of think of it this way. So if you have a supervisor or someone who you directly report to that can provide an affidavit or a sworn statement as to any of these things that you can't include in a letter, and they're able to swear to it, then obviously that is going to, it's my wife sending me a text. Oh gosh, it's one of those days. I love my wife. I'll get back to her right away. I won't interrupt my EE Live Q&A to answer that. But the person that's directly over you is in a great position to be able to provide that evidence for you. And if they're currently working for the company, that's first, right off the bat. And yes, it needs to be an affidavit, a sworn statement. Okay, so you can do that. Then what I do in terms of a hierarchy of importance, I will then look at another employee that you worked with that can attest to you that's currently working for the company. Okay, so supervisor with the company, if that's not available, employee or fellow coworker that knows you, that can swear to that same information. Then if they're not present, then maybe you have a supervisor that's no longer working with the company that could do an affidavit for you, or another employee that's no longer working with the company that can give you an affidavit as well. And so that's kind of how I work down through the system, because other than that, some companies, if an employee is currently working with them, they may be scared or not be willing to provide that. And that happens all the time. So you just do the best that you can. If you can get those affidavits in the order that I've indicated, that's great. If you can't, then pull in every kind of source that you can get your hands on. And I think I've gone through, a number of them, and there's others that are in my paid resources that are available. But I hope, Visha, that gives you some idea, and I hope it was of some use to you. All right. The next one here, and those that are posting questions, and I can see them just coming really quick through, hold off on posting your questions right now until I get through the written ones, and then I will start at the point in the comments, basically the last comment right after I finish my the emailed ones. Okay, this one here is from Manish, and I never scrolled through these at all, guys. I basically just printed them off. I searched EE Live Q&A in my many emails that came through today and just printed them off. So let's see what this says. Okay, so this is from Manish. Hi, Mark. And actually, let me just put the timing on here. Okay, so we're at 1940. Okay, I hope this letter finds you in great health. I'm feeling okay. Now, I have put on a little bit of weight with the winter upon us, not being able to ride as much, and so I'm working on getting rid of that. But other than a few extra pounds, I'm feeling okay. Okay, a little tired though, but that's okay too. I'll be grateful if you can have a look at one of my queries regarding express entry. I'm 27 years old and have 8887 score with CRS 435 in the pool. Apart from going for French language tests, what else could you please suggest to improve my CRS score? Also, does WES or IQAS consider distance education diploma or certification done via WES, IQAS listed universities in their portal? Okay, so there's quite a few questions here. Manish, the one that I'm going to tackle for you is increasing CRS. Okay, so obviously anything that you do to increase score is going to have two effects. It's going to take time in some cases that you have to take into consideration, and two, so there's a time impact, and then two, there's also whether or not you can actually do it. So how do I describe this? Let's start first with the most important thing, language. Language doesn't really have a locked-in time problem. So other than just the time it takes you to improve. So in every case, if you have 8887 and you're sitting at 435 points and you're trying to get a few more points, the key for you is to make sure that you do everything you can to maximize your language. So that's something that's in your control, and depending upon your preparations, that's the first place we always start with. After that, then it just comes down to your own personal circumstances. And I don't really know from the information that you've provided where you're losing your points. Maybe you don't have 3 years of skilled work experience. So if you don't have 3 years of foreign skilled work experience, you're not maximizing your skill transferability points. Because if you have those 3 years, plus your 8887, which is CLB 9, you're getting 50 maximum points for skill transferability. So that's one factor. And so obviously that work experience. And I'm also assuming as well that you're outside of Canada, so you're going through the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Then the next thing to look at is, because your age is 27, you have room. You still have 3 years or 2 years up until 30 before you start to lose any points for age. So if you only have one bachelor's degree, then maybe you look at taking a 1-year diploma course. Because if you have 2 or more degrees, then that also helps to maximize your skill transferability points and gives you obviously additional points for education. So that could be the difference for you. So those are the first two that for sure I would point to. Then for everybody else, often you can't increase your English anymore. Your language score is as good as they're going to get. And your work experience, you already have 3 years. Well, then it comes down to experience in Canada. And for some people, if you can get a job offer in Canada supported by an LMIA, then that's a wonderful opportunity to get 50 more points. But with that being said, it's extremely difficult to actually get. So you set that aside, but it's a possibility, job offer. Then the next thing, and guys, this is exactly the process that I go through when I do consultations with people. We go through everything systematically. I take a look at their own personal circumstances, and then we analyze and assess which of these options might be possible. So then the last one that I recommend, which obviously everybody and their dog and their cat and whatever pet monkey they have, all of them consider, it's studying in Canada. So if you come and you study in Canada, then you're going to be in a position where you're able to get more points for having a Canadian educational credential. So 2 years will give you 15 points, 3 or more will give you 30 points. And then after, if you study in Canada, after you study, you can get another additional 3-year open work permit if you studied for 2 years. That open work permit allows you to claim Canadian work experience, which gives another 35 points for the first year and then goes up every year after that. And so one of the things you have to factor in, no matter what options they are, every year you're going to be, after you turn 30, you're going to be losing 5 comprehensive ranking system points. Once you hit 40, then they start to drop by 10 points. So if it takes a long time to get that education or to come to Canada, you're going to be losing age points once you get older. And so for Manish, you've got lots of opportunities. You're in an age bracket at 27 where the options are there and there's things that you distinctly can do. For the rest of you that are older, it's just hard. Pretty much a job offer in some cases is the only way you're going to get to Canada. And I also want to share with you guys that If you are going to study, please do not waste your money and your time on a 1-year credential in Canada. Don't do it. If you are coming to Canada and you're looking for opportunities to get a higher comprehensive ranking system, one, go to a school that's actually going to result in you getting some form of job after you graduate in Canada. Don't waste your time with these fly-by-night, goofy private colleges that offer 1-year programs or these brutal extra 4-month programs that sometimes they tack on. Just don't do it, guys. Don't. Because if you study for 1 year, you are only going to get a 1-year open work permit after you graduate. And the reality is it's hard to find a job that fast to be able to accumulate the full 1 year of Canadian work experience you need to get the extra 35 points for Canadian work experience and to get the minimum 1 year to qualify through the Canadian Experience class, which is the other economic immigration program. So you have to take that into consideration, guys. You just have to. It is a complete waste in my mind to go and study for only 1 year. It just opens you up to huge problems. If you study for 2 years, then you can get a 3-year open work permit. And although the points are still 15 between 1 year and 2-year educational credentials, the benefits of the 2-year by far outweigh. So don't waste your time. All right. So that was a good one. I actually liked that one. That was a really good question. I got lots of good information in there. Okay. The next one is Ali. And let's see if I can answer this one. Okay. So Ali asks, he says, when I submitted my personal activities in the EAPR stage, there was a gap of 1 year between my education and working as I was looking for a job. And there was a gap of 1 month when I switched between jobs. Even though I wrote in the personal activities in EAPR stage that I was unemployed, I got a letter from CIC stating, we have begun processing your application for permanent residence, and in order to make a decision, we require the following information. Client information, receipt of information from client. Please provide details of activities between December 2010 and July 2011, and between October 2013 and November 2013. Please advise what should I submit to CIC at this stage, as I do not have any written documents proof that I was unemployed, and what is receipt of information from client? Okay, so Ali, this is one of those very, very specific questions, and I'm going to answer it generically, but I actually encourage you to book a paid consultation, because this is something obviously that you need to take seriously anytime the government comes back. And I'm just going to put 27 here. Anytime the government comes back and requests clarification from you, you have to understand that they're looking for something. And the reality is, I can't tell from what you've described here maybe the difficulty or maybe the deficiency within this process. Maybe there's some kind of an inconsistency somewhere in your application that's causing them to ask for this. But I can honestly say that within all of my clients, I've never had them come back and ask for clarification in your personal history for periods in which you've been unemployed or you list unemployed. Often they have records. GCMS, the Global Case Management System, covers the entire immigration history of a person. It includes all places and locations, or all times and circumstances in which you've applied to immigration previously. But understand, Canada also has information sharing agreements with other countries. And so if there's any danger or any question about a misrepresentation on your application, the officers have ways of looking at that. So be aware that this is serious. And Ali, like I said, I can't answer specifically. I can't tell you what to put in there. You'd need to book a paid consultation for me to get a whole bunch more information for you. Okay, but there you have it. Okay, next question is from Sam, and Sam says, and I'll just make a note of this as well. He says, I'm currently a student at UBC studying immigration certificate program. I haven't looked at these guys. I wish to work with you as an agent. I have strong links to Nigerian clients for you. I'll be glad if you can be my mentor and I can learn from you. Sam, I actually don't engage with outside consultants at all. And so I have a wonderful, wonderful consultant that works with me. And when it comes to making connections, I don't I don't link at all ever with any consultants outside of my practice as an agent for me. I always have full control over the process, because that way I know that I'm doing things exactly how I want them to be done. And obviously, not all agents are ethical, and not all agents and consultants follow the same level of practice and have the same professional standards of ethics and just professionalism that I do. And even then, I just like to keep all of that contained tightly where I have control over it, because it just takes a second to lose your reputation. You work so very, very hard to build it with immigration, and in a moment it could be lost if you release control to someone who is not a direct employee within your practice. And as an immigration lawyer in Canada, I'm held to an unbelievably higher standard than overseas agents and consultants are. So, all right, that is the scoop. But Sam, I wish you all the best. Okay, all right. Maybe I should have skimmed through these. Okay, see, I get all kinds of questions. And that was an EE Live Q&A question. All right. Okay, hi Mark, I hope you're well. I follow you often and love interacting with you. I'm a baker by profession, and I have 3 years of bachelor's degree in English Lit and a 6-month diploma. Yes, diploma in cake decorating from the Institute of Culinary Education in New York City. My current score is 424, as Wes did not evaluate my diploma. I'm 30 years old and single. I have a couple questions. Okay, should I pursue evaluation with IQAS? Yes, I would. I would try every ECA agency that you can get your hands on. Now, it's pretty unlikely that a cake decorating course is going to get any credentials, but there's no harm in trying. Next question, if I choose to pursue further studies in culinary arts, most programs I want to pursue are 1-year certificates. If I do that, would I get the same evaluation as above, 2 degrees or more, and advantageous as a Canadian educated professional? Ultimately, if you've got a 3-year bachelor's degree in English Lit, if you've completed that and your ECS or WES actually equates it as a 3 or more year program, then that 1 year of study in Canada, which I just finished saying I don't ever recommend, would give you 2 or more programs, one of which at 3 years. So it would give you more points that way. All right, and I will just stop there. Samir actually is who had asked me that question. Okay, and I didn't record the time because I am trying to do 500 things at once here. So we'll just maybe say that's about the 30-minute mark. Okay, and then I'm going to answer one last question, and then we will go to all of you patient listeners who are listening in live. Okay. Khaleesi says, first I'd like to say thanks to you for having this session. You're very welcome. My question is, I graduated from pharmacy school in July 2012, completed my professional degree. From July 2012 to December 31st, 2012, I worked at a company as a pre-registration pharmacist. On January the 1st, I became a registered pharmacist in my country. I stayed at that job until July 2013, thereby making a full year at the company. I would like to verify that my time as a pre-registered pharmacist will count towards a full year of employment. Okay, so Khaleesi, this is a great question. Actually, I'm glad that you asked it because I face this a lot. And the reality is, whenever you are assessing whether or not you can claim your work experience, it has everything to do with the duties that you perform. If you look at the pinned post in our Facebook Express Entry Law Private Facebook page, someone posted a consult that I did. He was kind enough to post a very, very thoughtful review. And so I pinned it to our group, and you guys can go back and take a look at it. But I had a long, long conversation with him explaining how work experience really is counted. And the thing I want to emphasize for you, Khaleesi, is that your work experience will be counted as work experience if you are performing all of the activities in the lead statement of that National Occupational Classification profile for a pharmacist, and a substantial number of the main duties, which basically equates to about 75%, although that's not an exact science. Substantial fluctuates. Maybe in some cases 60% is substantial. but that's a matter of determination by the officer. So you just make your pitch. So it doesn't have much to do with that. What it has to do with is the actual duties that you were performing. Okay, so focus on those, and then also you can go and you can search for the secret to finding your correct knock. That allows you to make sure that for people out there who are trying to figure out if they've got the right position. In your case, obviously it's going to be pharmacy, but really it comes down to matching up your duties with the duties that are listed in the knock profile, and then making sure there's a substantial number of them that you actually performed. Okay, all right, great question. These are really good, guys, today. Really, really good questions. I feel like I really got to I really dove down deep into those ones. Okay, I have a little bit extra time. Let's see here. Okay, just looking at when my next consultation is. I can spend a little bit extra time because I did get started late here just answering your live questions. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to start right here. And remember, we're gonna limit the questions always to express entry. And I even don't really like to answer too many about PNPs, but let's take a run here and let's see what we got. So the first one that I see here is from Love Sashdev, and the question is, what are the chances of getting a notice of interest under the OINP for CRS 435? And then there's the NOT code 2173. In January, February, March 2019. I'll just stop with your question there, but Love, I have absolutely no clue. I know that the OINP filled up. I know that they still are taking applications for other streams, but every PNP has an unbelievably high demand for their programs. And because of that, they only open up when they have occasion to believe maybe the nominations are going to be low. They do try to spread the nominations around as much as they can throughout the various streams, but the occupation that OINP, those programs, especially the human capital priority stream, where you can apply independently without a connection, and it's really a passive stream because you put your profile in, and then if you rank high enough, they issue they extend an invitation. I can tell you, Love, that there's no one knows except the program themselves. I can't answer that, and all I can say is just have everything ready, be ready, and cross your fingers. Obviously, if you've got your profile submitted, then it's just a matter of waiting. And if you happen to be on that lucky list, if the OINP decides to extend a group of passive invitations to people who are already in the pool, then be ready to act on it. Okay? Sohan says, is it possible to show employees Provident Fund as proof of funds? If so, what are the necessary documents that I need to get from them? I appreciate your help as usual. Every country has different terminology when it comes to their what we call RSPs, pension, those kinds of things. And every country is a little bit different. And I know that in the past I have heard reference to Provident Fund, but I'm not exactly sure, Sohan, what you mean by that. If it's some kind of a savings where you have access to that money, you have control over it, you can cash it out, then the government 100% allows for the use of investment accounts and things like that to show proof of funds. So it's entirely possible, but you just need to be able to get the statements and show what those funds are actually worth in Canadian dollars. Okay, good question. Okay, Nisha says, hi Mark, my sister Canadian passport shows same parent's name. Is this enough to prove relationship proof for siblings in Canada? I always go back to a birth certificate if it's available. Hands down, without any reservation, I will go back and do it. When it comes to the passport, then you'd want both you and your sister to be able to show that your parents are matched the same in your passport. And in those circumstances, then sometimes you can use that, but I would go to great lengths to try to find a birth certificate naming both of your parents. Okay, Aziz says, if I show my wife's work experience, secondary applicant, under personal history, post-ITA, will they ask for work proof later on? No, my friend. Only what you list in the work history section for you or your spouse will trigger the need to provide a reference letter. But if you indicate that you're not providing any work history for your spouse, which if your spouse is not working in Canada, I would recommend that all of you don't put any work history in there. but you 100% have to put it in the personal history. So that's where you're going to list it. By putting it in the personal history doesn't trigger the need for a reference letter, only if it's in the work history. Good question. Harish says, I already applied for PR in Canadian class. Okay, so the CEC, the Canadian Experience class. It's almost 6 months. I'm still waiting. It shows background check is going on. Harish, I cannot respond to that. I have no clue why it would be delayed. There's so many different reasons. Everything from the officer who's doing it is just got a higher workload. Maybe the background checks that they're doing, they're waiting on something from your country, which often is some of the delays because they have to respond. And if they're not responding to the Canadian government, there's nothing that the officer can do but wait. So sometimes that happens. All right. All right, Muhanad, hello. After soft landing and receiving the PR, how long can I still live in my home country before I need to move to Canada without risking losing my PR status? In order to maintain your permanent resident status, you need to show that you have lived in Canada for at least 2 years in every 5-year period in order to maintain it. So if you're outside of the country and you're counting strict days, then you would need to be able to demonstrate that you have met that 2-year and 5-year period. So after 5 years have passed, you need to count up your days and make sure that you've had at least 2 years at a minimum that you can prove. And it's based on the date that you submit your application. Okay, so good question. Okay, Duca says, my aunt, mother's sister, is a citizen of Canada, but I have not received points under Express Entry Profile. What can I do? Duca, the only points you're going to get are under the Federal Skilled Worker Program for having an aunt in Canada, which could be potentially 5 extra points under the selection criteria. But when it comes to the comprehensive ranking system, you only get points for siblings in Canada or siblings of your spouse. All right. Dipasha says, still didn't receive PPR, newborn added on last. Okay, Dipasha, hang in there, my friend. Hang in there. Okay, it does take time. Rahul says, post-ITA question, IP1 stage. My wife is a dependent in the PR application. She was in India when we filed the applications and sent the documents. She's now traveling to the U.S. Do we need to update Canada Immigration about this? The address and contact information for you are essential, critical. And when it comes to your spouse, your application is locked in when you file your EAPR. But when it comes to addresses, eventually, if your spouse is in the USA, they will need to provide their passport to the visa office once you get the passport request. So what I recommend is through the case-specific inquiry, there's no harm whatsoever in indicating that your spouse has changed locations. That's a very prudent thing to do. But the likelihood of them actually assigning it to the officer as the file, who then in turn updates the address for a spouse, is probably unlikely. They just don't have a lot of time. So the prudent course is just to send it anyways. It's not going to hurt through a case-specific inquiry. All right, good question. Okay, Rabbi says, for trips history, we must put even the 3 days trip. You bet, 100%. So trips are asked for you to put even down to the day. And, you know, to be a little bit blunt, part of the reason they do that is because they want to know exactly where you were every single day. And maybe, I don't know, like maybe someone is involved in activities that are serious, like terrorist activities, or, you know, things that would make that person inadmissible to Canada. And it doesn't take any longer than a day or two in a country to, you know, to cause problems, I guess you could say. And they want to know where a person is at any given time. And you can't just not list a trip that you took. Okay? And yes, it might amount to a lot of entries in your travel history, but that's just the nature of it. Okay. Bapash just provided a little bit more clarification. Still didn't receive the PPR. Newborn added on last year, December. ITA received last year, July. And our medical expired in this year, June. What to do now, sir? Bapash, now's the time to actually do a case-specific inquiry. So you can send in a request to them, and then also to do an ATIP, request the GCMS notes to see what's going on. That is an inordinate amount of time. It's really a long time. And so I recommend that you do follow up that way. And then obviously you're probably outside of Canada, so the call center isn't really a possibility for you, but those are really the avenues to see where things are at. It's the case-specific inquiry. All right, but I'm sorry to hear that things are tied up for so long. I do have the ability to work with clients to try to resolve those issues, but at this stage, when things are hung up like this, yeah, a case-specific inquiry is usually what I do. Okay. Muhammad says, hello, Mark. Thanks as always. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Maureen says, will postal strike affect documents getting to Wes? If you're sending it via Canada Post, absolutely, it could. If you're sending it via Pure Letter or FedEx or another courier, then that's outside of Canada Post. Okay, Eve says, I have a question about biometric request. As I am CEC Outland currently and live in the UK, but I'm from Poland, I didn't still receive an email. Is there something to worry about? Eve, I'm not quite sure what you're asking. So you were working in Canada and now you're in the UK and you're a Polish citizen and you didn't receive an email. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, Eve. Okay, Rabbi says, thank you. You're welcome, Rabbi. Noreen says, how long do you estimate the postal service issues will go on? I paid for us but haven't sent my documents yet. I can't even guess. I'm sorry. Bipasha says, sir, I already got GCMS notes. Okay, well, Bipasha, then you review them and you see where it's hung up and what the issue is. See if there's something that somehow they said that they've sent you an inquiry, but you haven't received it. But that's what you do. Then I would go case specific. But review those notes, your GCMS notes, and then you can go from there. Okay. All right. Let's see here. I think we're just about going to wrap up here. Okay, so Eve says my AOR is basically September 2018, meds passed October 2015. Okay, well, yeah, you just have to wait for instructions, right? So I think you're just waiting. Time is what it is, and you're still well within those processing times, Eve. Noreen says, thanks, Mark. I will send via FedEx then. Really appreciate your time. You're welcome, Noreen. And then the last question is Aziz. This is the one I'll answer. For proof of funds, what is the format to show on loans? Is it through LOE or uploading loan statements? Aziz, you cannot use loans to satisfy proof of funds. So if you do, your application will get rejected. The funds have to be real, liquid, fully available cash, not subject to payment terms. So you need those funds independent. They can't be a loan. All right? Good question. And thanks so much. Nikolai ends off by saying, thanks, Mark. Always worth to wake up so early to get so much value. You're welcome, Nikolai. My pleasure. All right, you guys. This is the end of today's EE Live Q&A. As always, I want to just jump on here quick and remind you guys about this, which is the deal of the week, which is coming to a close. So I've got first 100 only, and we are just about there. So if you want to take advantage, now's the time, and I'm going to pull this. And it's quite amazing to me, I'll be honest. I know that some of you struggle with making payment, and I haven't made any accommodations for other countries to receive payment. Ultimately, I'm willing to take a wire transfer and I can provide my wiring instructions. But when it comes to credit card payment, which is how this is set up, or through PayPal, the reality is any of you who wish to apply to immigrate to Canada is going to have that same method for payment or something similar to it. And so if you can't arrange to pay the $58.20 through your bank, then you're going to really struggle paying the $1,040 application fees that you need in order to immigrate to Canada if you're approved. So it's for that reason that I haven't made any changes. But if someone does say, look, Mark, I want to buy full access to your guide, lifetime access, then can I wire you the funds? Then I am willing to accommodate people that way. But guys, this guide, like I can't tell you, I've put everything into it. All of the things that we're talking about here, it's a complete step-by-step process that covers off every aspect of the Express Entry profile and the EAPR, as well as detailed explanations on the document checklist. And there's a ton of videos just like this that are tailored specifically to certain aspects of the process, which answer those questions that people most commonly request. Now, on occasion, there is someone who comes and they have a question that's very specific that isn't included in there, and that's when they usually turn to a consult for me to fill in the gaps. But this was designed, all of these was designed to make it affordable for people to get information that they can trust, so they didn't have to hire crooked consultants and agents and dabbling lawyers who don't know what they're doing to represent their application. They can do it themselves. And those, like I said at the very beginning, who are looking for peace of mind, they can hire me, because that's what I sell, is peace of mind. All right. So if you use coupon code so you just click on add coupon, essentially is how it works. When you get to my Canadian immigration, the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide, you can access it by typing in CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com, just like we have here in the little yellow box here. That will take you to where you can log in, select the monthly option, not 6 months payments, because that's just a part of the full service, but the monthly payment option, and type in EE120, which recognizes 120,000 members in our group, M, which is monthly, and then 40%. So EE120M 40%. Okay? And then you can have access, and in 1 month's time, guys, if you're diligent, and I know how much time you guys spend right now hunting through everywhere to get answers, you can probably get everything you need out of it in 1 month's time. And it's kind of like the greatest kept secret. And so I'm at the stage now where I'm going to start probably releasing it to the world, because at this stage I've only kept it to the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel, peripherally, because the videos are posted there, and to you guys here. So there you have it. That is it, and I encourage you guys to check it out and take advantage of it. This is Mark Holfe, Canadian immigration lawyer and ex-immigration officer and former high school teacher, wishing you guys all the best as you navigate this crazy world that we call, well, what do we call it? Express Entry. Take care.